Hello, my loves. It's quite early here in Sweden. I woke up feeling like I want to make a video about the ego, and then I felt like, no, I will do it later. I need some more sleep, but I couldn't fall asleep again. So I'm here making this video. So I want to talk about the ego because I feel that it's like a big thing in the spiritual community, and I feel that so many of us get stuck in this getting rid of the ego trap, and it actually just makes our egos grow even bigger. Because like I remember my own journey when I began or started awakening and like started to just awake and grow in consciousness. I remember how I was in this phase of getting rid of the ego and just feeling like the ego makes me unholy, makes me like I had this belief that if I have the ego, I'm not spiritual enough, or that I'm like shameful. So I had all these beliefs connected to that. But I also know that it was so much related to that I just didn't had evolved enough in consciousness and like in my psyche to really grasp and understand and like feel into what getting rid of the ego means. Like for me it was about killing it off, like getting rid of it, because if I have it then I'm not spiritual. And I think that a lot of us get stuck there because we haven't evolved enough to understand what that means. And it's not about getting rid of the ego, and like it's really cold here, so if I'm like shaking, that's because it's cold in the morning in Sweden. It's not about getting rid of the ego, it's not about like trying to make it go away, because we have it for a reason. Like the ego is this tool to experience separated interconnection, like I call it. Like we experience our soul in a human body, and our human body having a soul experience too. Like if we say it like this, we need the ego to experience the self. We need the ego to like experience the self. We need that. We need it here to like I use my ego as a like connection point, or like a way to get deeper into myself, to show me my fears and pains and everything like that. And it's a great tool in life. Like really now I have such a different outtake and understanding of the ego that I can see how my thinking or navigating the ego before was just so harmful to my whole being. And I think that if we stop concentrating on getting rid of the ego and stop concentrating that much on the ego, which actually just makes it grow and you get into this spiritual ego kind of phase, and start concentrating more on connecting to your heart and soul, like the ego just falls into place where it's supposed to be very naturally and easy. Like you don't have to do anything with it. It just understands and feels that being in connection with yourself, being in flow with life, and being held by the mother and like by the universe in the whole feels better. Like it actually feels better, and it just falls into that. And then you can use the ego to like understand when you're out of balance and you're like out of connection, because you feel that, you really feel like, okay, now I'm in this overthinking kind of mode. But when you evolve higher in consciousness and like in your psyche, then like the ego doesn't operate in the same way it used to. It kind of changed, and it will change like all the time depending on where you are in the phase. But it doesn't get into the same traps as easily as it did before, because it has this like reference point to the soul. It knows how to connect to that, so it just doesn't fall into those traps as easily. I know that I'm like getting stuck or taking pauses, and it's because I'm not fully awake and I haven't done my grounding yet and things like that. But I really wanted to make this video because I just felt these things coming through me, and I didn't want to kind of lose that when I get into my day and start doing other things. Gosh, it's real cold here. So I think it's so important for us to stop making the ego like this bad thing or this villain that takes us away from our soul, because it's not. Like, it's this tool. The only thing we need to do is to stop making such a big fuss about the ego, really, because I think it's good to just laugh at it sometimes and talk to it, like be with it and make it feel validated, because that's what it needs. It needs your attention, and if you try to get rid of it, it will just like act out to get your attention in the best way, like your darkness. It's the same thing. And in your subconscious mind, you have all these things stored that you really need to know, to heal. So you can't get rid of it, really. It's just bypassing. So yeah, I think it's so important, because getting rid of the ego will just make it bigger, and you can't, because you're supposed to have it. You're here to have a human experience as a soul, and you need the ego. But when you stop concentrating on the ego and start concentrating on grounding yourself and connecting to yourself and connecting to your soul, it all falls into place quite naturally. It just falls into place. So yeah, stop trying to kill off your ego. It's quite a good friend, actually. Yeah, that's about all I wanted to say, and I'm like shaking so much, so I hope this video isn't all too fucked up. But yeah, this is what I had to say. I hope this gives you some perspective, or maybe that you can relate to what I'm saying, because I think most of us in the spiritual community have been there. I've been in these ego traps and in all of this kind of traps. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.